What is astrophotography? It is the imaging or photography of celestial bodies such as the moon, sun, planets, nebulous galaxies, and star clusters. It started with the ancient humans. 37,000 years ago, dated from 24 radiocarbon datings from African archaeologists, it was found between Eswatini and South Africa, the Lembambo bone, estimated to be about 37,000 years old and to have come from a wolf cub. It has 29 notches on it, and if you look at the moon's orbital cycle, it takes 29 days. It's not entirely guaranteed that what these notches meant was the orbital period of the moon, but knowing ancient humans and their curiosity, it is very likely that those notches referred to the moon's orbital period. Now that we've discussed what astrophotography is, let's discuss what we use to actually do it: telescopes. The telescope was invented by Dutch eyeglass maker Hans Lippershey in 1608. A great man, but he's most known for his invention that astrophotographers use to make their greatest discoveries. It started with the refractors. Yes, the old classic design was the first one, but it does not mean that they're better than the Newtonians. The first refractors were crude and had many issues with them, often being doublet lens designs and having many blurring artifacts with mismatching colors. They did, however, help the first astronomers discover the rings of Saturn, moons around Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune. They were later perfected and the Newtonian design came into play, but a telescope is a device used with a lens or mirror to magnify a distant object and make the viewer see it more clearly. But we haven't talked about refractors much this video. How do they work, and why do people argue that they're better than Newtonian? Many will argue that Galileo Galilei is great proof that the refractor telescope is the best one on the market today, and has always been the best. The father of modern science was born February 15, 1564, and started using his refractor telescope the August of 1609. He used it to discover the Galilean moons, famously named after him, orbiting Jupiter and the rings of Saturn. It started off kind of blurry, like I'm showing on screen now, but he eventually fixed it up and added new lenses and made it more towards an amateur view today. And he revolutionized the scope, and ever since, people have strongly argued that the refractor is legendary. Here is the biggest Newtonian I've ever owned. It's a 10-inch photon imported from Germany by Jonathan Hayton, a very nice astrophotographer that I happen to know. But what are these things and how do they work? It's not too complicated once you get into it. They look like giant metal buckets that are too tall for their own good. I have a big one here and a little one on top functioning as my guide scope. But let's get into it. Light enters in the front of the telescope. Hope you can see. It goes down the entire tube, and in the back there's a giant mirror, which functions as the primary lens, or reflector in this case, and is shaped like a bulb. And as light comes down into a bulb, it will come back up as a cone. And after that, it's reflected into this mirror right here, the secondary. It's at a 45 degree angle, which the light coming up the tube shoots out of the focuser into the camera or eyepiece. And if there was a 10-inch refractor, it would be about twice or 3 times as long and weigh maybe 100 pounds or so. This weighing about 45 pounds, a lot more efficient and completely eliminates chromatic aberration and that aperture issue Isaac Newton was trying to solve 400 years ago. We're still using his great design here today. But there's a problem, even with these big Newtonians. The bigger they get, the heftier a telescope mount you need, just because they get heavier and tend to outweigh the counterweights on the bottom. And those big mounts get very expensive very fast. But a brave man called John Dobson tackled the issue headfirst and solved it completely. When you get a big telescope, say a 10-inch, you need a giant mount. But not if your telescope is zoomed out. If it's zoomed out, meaning a low F ratio, meaning how fast the telescope collects light, and also how curved the mirror is, it means that you can get a shorter tube weighing less, and it won't be as sensitive to things jiggling around. If you can fit a box on the ground and tie a telescope to it, then you have a Dobsonian. You might have noticed me talking about telescope mounts a lot this video. Why do we have them? What do they do? And why are they on pretty much every single telescope on the modern day market? Here's why. Telescope mounts are this little chunky thing you see between the main telescope and the tripod. Most people classify the entire bottom part as a mount, but what it really is the mechanical blob-looking thing in the middle. And its main goal is to stabilize whatever target the user's looking at, and in some cases track it all night. They can range in size from my nice little iXos here. I've used it for about a year now, and it's carried my smaller telescopes, and even down to the camera filming this video. They even get smaller. Take this Skywatcher GTI. They mainly hold camera and camera lenses. They're very small, can handle a few pounds, but they're very good nonetheless. Then they go about to my CQ350 Pro, which is so fat it doesn't even deserve to be moved that much. As you can see me struggling to carry this thing. But they all have one common goal, and that is to track the night sky as accurately as possible. The bigger ones do it more accurately, but there's a reason they are all so expensive, and why, in my opinion, they are the most important pieces in a telescope rig. Some of you may have noticed that the word Newtonian is a play on Isaac Newton's name, and that's because he actually invented them. The same guy who came up with the theory of gravity, invented calculus on a dare, and came up with that little prism thingy that splits white light in a rainbow and vice versa, came up with the best telescope on the market. He was born January 4th, 1643, and invented his namesake telescope, 1668. He was trying to overcome an issue known as chromatic aberration, only possible in refractors and still an issue today. Chromatic aberration is when the red, green, and blue light entering a telescope lens are split differently and have different focal points, meaning you can focus a star, but not all colors will be focused on the same spot. And in the edges, you'll have flaring different colors, and it's really a bad problem if you want to take accurate measurements and things. The other issue is aperture. As a refractor gets bigger, especially above 8 inches or something like that, they get a lot heavier, and you have to make them a lot longer than, say, 4 feet, which is a very big problem for things off in the far out universe, say galaxies or anything beyond that, or a dim nebula. You want to have as much aperture as you can, so you can collect as much light as in one go as you can. Your eye is not a camera. It can't take a million pictures and stack them. Your eye is just what it is. And back in the day, they didn't have cameras at all. They just had lenses and someone moving the telescope with the sky. These days we have mounts to cover that, but I'll get into that at another time in this video. But yeah, that's why he invented them. And his namesake telescope was taken on and pioneered by many people today. To prove which is better, Newtonian or refractor, we're going to take a long, distant journey to the Pinwheel Galaxy in the Big Dipper. So here we have the first pinwheel image I took with my ED127 refractor. Great image taken from Truckee, California, and I believe it had about 13 hours worth of integration poured into it. This was with a 294 MC, I believe, camera. So color camera. All these, not mono, just color cameras. All taken from relatively dark sites except for this one. This one is a quick test I did with that refractor along with my 585 camera. And for the grain reveal, this was from Pyramid Lake, 2.5 hours with the 10-inch Newtonian. A great way to tell Newtonian images from refractors are the awesome spikes you can see around the stars here. As you can see, there's a lot of detail pulled out in the core, especially with the dust lanes and spiral arms. You can even see a little core branch kind of coming in like this. Really, really cool. See that here. You can even reveal some clusters in here. They're hard to pick out from galaxies in the background like this one. What's very impressive about this image though is the amount of background galaxies you can see through the galaxy and just in general in the background, along with the detail in the nebulae. If you see right here, this is a very cool HA region. We see a kind of wall almost of stars and nebulas right here, and we see faint hydrogen rims coming out here, circling the entire thing, loops. These would be revealed more if I had more integration time, but I just couldn't get it because that's how Pyramid Lake is. If I did narrowband from my house, I could have pulled out a little more. The other cool side was over here, along with these, you can see various areas of nebulae, star clusters, and very much a lot of detail in these background galaxies. Star colors are pretty good. There's a little bit of fringing, but that is because I have a coma corrector that I'm going to upgrade soon. It's not possible to have this kind of fringing with a Newtonian. I corrected it as much as I could, but yes, this is my 2.5 hour pinwheel shot. One more little thing. Love these things over here. This particular area is what I judge my resolution off of because we have a big bursting nebula right there, bunch of twisting stuff right here, and these spiral arms and these galaxies over here. So let's move to the Truckee shot. As we can see, detail in the galaxy is a bit less, even with more integration time. These were both from dark sites. Nebulae in the galaxy, still pretty good. We can see this wall of stars and some hydrogen bands around here. We can't see as much depth, but we can counter that by a very large field of view. As you saw in the space engine clips, there was a little galaxy over here lying a bit farther behind the pinwheel, but as you know, we are at an angle to this galaxy, so we can see this cool, oh my bad, this cool thing right here. Looks really cool. You can see some nebulae in here. It's a clockwise rotating galaxy from our point of view. We see the chromatic aberration isn't great with the scope. There's a lot more background galaxies. This camera is bad, so don't mind the hot and cold pixels, but you can see a constant blue fringing among this picture and this one. And that is from the chromatic aberration from the refractor, which isn't possible in Newtonians. This one, very heavily corrected. I got my spacing down. The dimmer stars, if I had to point out, very good in the orange spectrum, but the brighter ones, they're not really good. I noticed a shift along the spectrum, and we can see a dark hole in the star. I tried to make the blue fringing as natural as possible, but it's just not possible because this star most likely would have been white or red even, and it's just not a natural look. And if you want to take accurate measurements, you can't really do that with refractors because you got to counter and overset the chromatic aberration. There's just no way of fixing it, which is another good argument because the only way to get past that is to dump a lot of cash on a really smart decision, and that is getting a very high quality refractor with very nice fluorite ED glass with 15 lenses in it or something like that. I'm exaggerating. You need about 3 or 4 to make it look good, and a good flattener here. But overall, very good test here. I'm liking the detail in the galaxy. The refractor did perform admirably with good seeing and good guiding from that nice mount. But as you can see, the light gathering is not only outperformed by a number of 3.5, also multiplied by the F ratio of the Newtonian. The Newtonian is about f4.9 with its reducer, and the refractor, with a pretty intense reducer, is still f5, which is pretty ridiculous considering the refractor is only about 5 inches wide. Of course, the Newtonian has a bit of a buff here because it's 10-inch aperture, but you can't really find any 10-inch refractors for about the same price, and they don't really sell those. The refractor and the Newtonian were about the same price, and I'm going off the price points and kind of affordability along with just image quality. But the 10-inch did outperform the refractor in many areas: light gathering, star quality, image quality, resolution, and sharpness. These are all a bit soft. This one is beaten in sharpness because of the large sensor, and overall the Newtonian just beats it out. If you'd like to differ, please say so in the comments, but this image review, I'd say, is a win for the Newtonian.
To me, the evidence seems clear. Through our tests in this video, through hundreds of years of inventions, genius minds, and Newtonian testing, the evidence is clear. Newtonians come out on top. They are the best for visual astronomy, for measurements, for astrophotography, and for anyone looking to use a telescope. The affordability, aperture, image quality, resolution, sharpness, weight, and size are clear. They outperform refractors in almost every category. Refractors are great. They have their fair share of amazing images, and Galileo did well. But Isaac Newton and his invention have forever changed the world of astronomy and the universe as we know it. Thank you, Isaac Newton, and for everyone watching.